Today we're going to read chapter 7, which is called Vacations, in quotes, Peaches and Silver. Sometimes we would get into projects completely removed from our ski life. One vacation concentrated on peaches, another on silver. In early September 1946, Edna and I had heard that fruit of all kinds could be had for almost nothing over near Grand Junction. After leaving the children with their grandmothers, we started off early one morning in Edna's old Studebaker. Our convertible wasn't big enough for all the fruit and produce that we were planning to bring back. Neither of us had seen Glenwood Canyon or the Palisade Country. The old car bounced noisily along. We were in high spirits, even though the temperature at Glenwood Springs and from there west went well over 90 degrees. We had been told that the best peaches were to be found high on the mesa above the town of Palisade. Leaving the town, we climbed the dusty road up onto the flat mesa with orchards fanning out in orderly patterns. We soon came to a very neat farmhouse with a sign, "Peaches for sale, pick your own." We drove in and found the owner in the backyard. "Sure," he said, "I've got lots of peaches for you to pick." "Well, what do we pick them in?" we asked. "We didn't bring any baskets." "Oh, that's no problem. Here, climb on the back of my truck and I'll drive you out to the orchard." As we drove through rows of trees, dust rose up around us and mingled with the rich smell of ripening peaches. When we got to the spot he said would be good picking, he showed us how to balance the ladder against the tree branches. "What you do," he said, "is put on one of these," and he handed us what looked like huge canvas aprons with one big pocket in the front and a drawstring at the bottom. Then he proceeded to show us how to fill the pocket. When filled, the string at the bottom could be released and the peaches would fall out into the basket below. We thanked him and started picking. These were the biggest, rosiest peaches I'd ever seen or tasted. Our baskets filled fast. After moving the ladder around one time, I must not have secured it too well. I felt like a kangaroo and probably looked like one too. Suddenly, I felt my ladder start slipping. I grabbed a branch just as the ladder slid to the ground. I yelled to Edna. She quickly came down from her tree and put my ladder securely up. And then she started bursting out laughing. "You should have seen yourself dangling from that branch with that big canvas sack swinging from your neck and your feet kicking like mad." I couldn't help but laugh too. "Let's call it quits." I felt like we had more than enough peaches, and my face was beginning to burn from the intense sun. Why am I itching so? The farmer drove out to collect our baskets and charged us only $1 per basket. Enough peaches to can for a whole year. Then we drove down to the valley, stopping at fruit stands where we bought plums, melons, pears, tomatoes, beets, and beans, all for a song. "But this itching is terrible." I looked at Edna, and she was sunburned, her face shiny with all the juice from the peaches eaten while we were picking. She said, "We're covered with peach fuzz, Edna. I think we'd better rent a motel room and have a good shower. We've saved enough on the fruit and vegetables that we can afford a motel." And a good supper, I added. After all, this is supposed to be sort of a vacation day for us. The next morning we started out early to get ahead of the hot sun. Upon reaching Glenwood Springs, we decided to drive into town for lunch. Coming out of the cafe, we looked across the street to the movie house. The Virginian was playing. With Joel McCrea, I exclaimed. I've always wanted to see it. In we went, and we were enthralled. A nice ending to our 2-day vacation, I said to Edna as we approached our car. Oh no, she cried out. Following her gaze, I saw the flat tire. It was Sunday, and the strollers in their best church-going clothes looked at us. 2 women in crumpled jeans and old shirts stained with peach juice. No help from them, we could see. Well, here's where we learn to change a tire, Edna declared. But we'd better get the spare out and see if that's okay. We've still got over 100 miles to go to get home. There's a garage up the street that's open, one helpful man told us. We finally got the tire off, but in order to check the spare, we had to unload all the produce on the sidewalk. We braced the melons with the baskets of peaches, or they would have rolled down the hill and into the Colorado River. Edna rolled the tire up to the garage while I sat on the hood of the car and kept watch over our treasures. Then she came back and rolled the spare up the hill to the garage to have it checked. Finally, she returned, and the garage man came with the spare. I'd have put it on for you, he said, but I'm alone up there. Well, after you've done one, you've done them all, Edna said. We put the tire back on ourselves and loaded in the spare and piled in the fruit. The car was already redolent with mixed odors as home we went. Our neighboring silver mining country had always fascinated us. During the war, when we were stuck in Dolesville, Washington, Max had built a model, a relief map, of the area that included Loveland Pass and Arapahoe Basin. It covered all the way past Independence Mountain, Keystone Mountain, and even showed Montezuma and Argentine Pass. It made us feel closer to Colorado to look at the model. We were intrigued by a number of mines he had marked for future reference. The spring of 1952 was the spring we decided to explore the Peru Creek country up near Argentine Pass. Our intention was to jeep up Chihuahua Gulch as far as the old mining road would let us. Then we climbed, carrying our skis, up the long snowfield on the 14,000-foot Gray's Peak so that we could ski down. Just above timberline, we found a well-built 2-story cabin. In front of the cabin was a small stream, almost submerged by alpine primroses, marsh marigolds, and the garnet-colored king's crown. That following week, Curly, Mackie, and Max checked out at the courthouse on the status of the mines. They found that the Rudolph mine, where the cabin stood, had been patented in 1882. Most of the silver mines in the immediate area, they determined, were tax delinquent for over 50 years. Well, we formed a small corporation for the 32 mines at Peru Creek. Then we bought a bulldozer and repaired the cabin. We hauled up a cook stove, bunks, mattresses, and food. The cabin would sleep 9, 4 downstairs and 5 upstairs. Every morning, Max, Curly, Rolf, Sonny, and our 6-year-old nephew Teddy would pile into the Jeep. Nothing could dislodge them. They were all going minding, as Teddy put it. I often joined them. It was too idyllic up there to be left behind. We broke even on the entire summer's work with the silver ore that we shipped. It brought in just enough money from the smelter in Leadville to pay for the shipping charges. But what a summer!